Hello and welcome. I'm Cheryl Lang, GISD Executive Director of Elementary Ed. We're very excited this year to offer online training. So this is one way that we're moving to 21st century learning framework with staff development. You will begin to hear these words more often in Georgetown: 21st century learning, 21st century teaching, and 21st century framework. So the purpose of this online training is to analyze and reflect on some of the best practices that effective teachers regularly use. You're going to get to view some of our very own GISD elementary teachers model some of these strategies. So I want to say a special thank you to those brave teachers for helping us develop this online training. So how do we know that these are best practices, strategies, and are successful and effective in helping students learn? Well, a lot of ways. We go out and observe. We look at student data. And one thing that's very exciting to see about student data and teachers is that effective teachers that utilize best practices most often have students who perform no matter who or what kind of students they have in their class. So that's very, very exciting. We also know by the contributions that these lead teachers make at their campuses, with their grade levels, on vertical teams, and also in GISD. So we appreciate them greatly. But we also know that these are best practices by looking at our research from a variety of authors such as Marzano, Teach Like a Champion, Doug Lemoy, Elizabeth Brew, and also Carol Ann Tomlinson on differentiation. So matching what we do in GISD with just the top educational researchers help us know what best practices are. So a master teacher has many characteristics and utilizes many positive instructional behaviors and practices and strategies. In this online training, we're going to really focus on 5. Again, there are many that effective teachers use to ensure student learning, but we're going to look at 5, and these are the 5 that we're going to be looking at in this online training. One of them is teacher participation in PLCs, and PLCs are professional learning communities. You know, teachers do plan weekly with their grade levels. We have implemented that at all campuses now. We're very excited about the power and what's coming out of those planning periods. Of course, a teacher must be a master of knowledge and content, and this should be ongoing. Teachers do need to continue to learn more about their content, whether they're a science teacher learning more about planets or living organisms, or whether they're a language arts teacher and learning about poetry or a better way to teach poetry or the new writing, or a math teacher and figuring out how to implement more algebra at the elementary level. So it is an ongoing goal, we hope, for every teacher to continue their content knowledge and increasing that knowledge. But most teachers have a pretty easy time with what to teach. The struggle becomes on how to teach, how to get the resources, and how to teach most effectively for all students to learn. So that's where PLCs come in, professional learning communities, and that we want to encourage teachers to be a part of that dialogue and collaboration with other teachers. The bottom line is the job is just too big for one person to think of and to do everything for all students. So working together, collaborating, sharing, and helping peers and continue to learn from others is one of those practices that master teachers use to become better and better. The second lesson in our online training will focus on differentiation to meet all students' needs. And we do know in Georgetown that our students are becoming more and more diverse. So teaching one way, the teacher's way, is great for the teacher and about 1/3 of the students in most classrooms. It's not okay for about 2/3 of the other students. So our goal in this instruction is to help teachers easily provide differentiation. So most common instruction method for teachers is obviously directly verbally teaching. But we know the most common learning style for students is visual, interactive, and engaging. So that's what this part of the online training will focus on. The third lesson is increasing student engagement. We know that we don't have to entertain students, but we do need to engage them. We want them to work hard with the content and applying the content and getting to higher level thinking, and to do that they have to be engaged. So we do want teachers to move to being the facilitator at some point in the lesson. There is obviously a point for direct teach, and we always want teachers to be direct and model, but also move to engaging students and increasing that student leadership and learning. Students learn and remember by doing, making connections to themselves, making connections to other content and other objectives, and making connections with other concepts and to obviously their own real life, and applying and eventually creating something from that. Our fourth lesson in this online training will be teacher questioning. And we find this to be a very powerful tool that master teachers use that is a best practice in how teachers question and how teachers respond to student responses. So how does a teacher successfully respond to incorrect answers? How does a teacher successfully respond to half-right answers, because we get a lot of those? But also, how do teachers respond to totally correct answers, as opposed to just saying yes and moving on, but using those correct answers to ensure that all students are learning. So responding positively to students, no matter what kind of answer they give, is just a natural way to increase positive relationships and lower the risk that students have of learning and taking risks in learning. So elaborating, clarifying, correcting, extending, and holding students accountable through the teacher response is so very important for accurate student learning, which is what we want. And our fifth lesson in this online training for best practices is holding students accountable for learning. Teachers can teach very, very hard, but if we don't take that last step or that additional step of holding students accountable for learning, many people call that formative assessing, and finally getting to summative assessment, but also calling that high expectations. So basically, we want to equip teachers with having high expectations, but also providing high support. So some teachers may say they have very high expectations, but then they don't provide the positive support such as reteaching, more practice, interventions, differentiation, and encouragement. So those are things that we're talking about of support for students who don't just get it or they don't want to follow through with that. So helping teachers help students be accountable for their learning. So master teachers really just don't let there be any excuses for not learning. They stick with the student and require the student to be accountable for that learning. So this is our online professional development challenge to you, teachers. We challenge you to think and reflect about your own teaching process, all the way from the planning to implementing to following through and ensuring that students learn. So we have many, many awesome teachers. In fact, all of our teachers in Georgetown ISD at the elementary level are incredible teachers. But we do challenge you to continue to improve and to reflect on what you're doing. It's very much like a great athlete, a pro athlete. You won't find any of those athletes that do not have coaches. Even though they're the best in the world, they continually strive to get better and perform better. So we want you to do that also. So again, our challenge to you is to have the same goal as professional athletes have, and that is continual improvement. So we hope that you not only enjoy this 2-hour training, this is one of our first online training sessions, but more importantly that you're going to be able to utilize some of these strategies in your classroom next year. Thank you and good luck.